Coming up on First at 4, the Homeplace Community Center was one of many locations throughout the region damaged by July's flood. Now, nearly 6 months later, one community member is talking about the property's significance. And as the 6-month anniversary arrives, we'll have a preview of a documentary about the disaster airing next Monday on WYMT.
Plus, the very latest on weekend rain chances coming up as Mountain News First at 4 starts right now.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News First at 4.
Good afternoon, I'm Steve Hensley. First at 4, historic buildings impacted by the flood at Homeplace Community Center in Perry County are being demolished. WYMT's Chandler Wilcox talked to one community member upset with how the situation has unfolded.
Floodwater tore through Homeplace Community Center on July 28th, prompting the E.O. Robinson Mountain Fund to demolish several buildings. The property has been sentimental to the community for almost a century.
It's really one of those kind of things where you feel like you have a stab in the heart. I mean, it's just sort of like somebody hits you in the gut, or you have blunt trauma.
Turner put together a petition with 476 names from the community that was sent to the board on October 15th. Even with the petition, Turner says the Robinson Mountain Fund has not communicated with them.
And the board is not saying a thing to us. It's also a little bit indicative of the way the board responded right after the flood.
Homeplace was used as a FEMA site for flood survivors that needed help. Communities from all over the country also came to help, but Turner says that was not the case with the Robinson Mountain Fund.
So those people came in droves. The E.O. Robinson Mountain Fund never did anything.
After surviving the flood, Turner and others in the community feel the destruction at Homeplace only brings down the mood even more.
How can I take all this in? If there's one thing that is going to be stable and that we could sort of cling to, Homeplace has been it. And it just hurts to lose everything.
Turner says their next step is looking into how the E.O. Robinson Mountain Fund functions as a nonprofit. In Perry County, Chandler Wilcox, WYMT Mountain News.
Now, we did reach out to people with the E.O. Robinson Mountain Fund for a response. They say they have no comment at this time. Tomorrow marks 6 months since the lives of many folks here in Eastern Kentucky were turned upside down. But through it all, we have seen neighbors helping neighbors, and we have learned that we all have our own story from that heartbreaking day. Since the flood on July 28th, the Center for Rural Strategies has been working on a documentary to tell some of those stories. And this Monday, January 30th at 7:30, that documentary will air for the first time here on WYMT. Today, our Olivia Calfee sat down with Dee Davis, the president of the Center for Rural Strategies, to learn more about the inspiration behind the film.
On July 28, 2022, life changed for people throughout Eastern Kentucky, leaving many Kentuckians with nothing tangible left. Dee Davis, president of the Center for Rural Strategies, says despite it all, they learned everyone had their own experience and personal story to tell.
It's really like everybody you meet on the street has something they want to say, and they want to hold your arm until they get it out.
So over the past 6 months, Davis and others have been gathering those stories.
I mean, the stories are of heroism, sacrifice, and resilience, and people fighting back against long odds. And so what I think you want to do is just let people frame the story the way they want to frame it.
Sharing the experience through the eyes of photographers, business owners, people who lost their homes, and locals just wanting to help. Here's a few clips from those conversations.
Floods used to be that it would rain really hard and everybody would go to the football field and slip around in the mud. And then you'd come home, get whooped because you were all muddy, but the water would have went back down. This was not like that.
I ended up making probably about 2,500 images total of the flood. Some of the hardest photographs I've ever made in my life. And I've seen, being a photojournalist in Cincinnati, I've seen some gruesome things before.
The story of July 28th through the eyes of Eastern Kentuckians.
We just lived through this time when thousands of people were rescued by their neighbors, or people who you would have never thought of as heroic were doing extraordinary things to look after others.
Davis says he feels this 30-minute documentary sums up many of the heroes that lifted up so many people during this historic time. In Letcher County, Olivia Calfee, WYMT Mountain News.
Powerful images. The documentary will air for the first time on Monday, January 30th at 7:30 p.m. right here on WYMT. That will follow my conversation with Housing Development Alliance Executive Director Scott McReynolds about what he calls a housing crisis in Eastern Kentucky following the flood. That will be on Issues and Answers at 7 o'clock.
Well, after some snow showers earlier this morning, it has turned out to be a beautiful day across the region. Here's a live look over in downtown Hazard. Nothing but sunshine and blue sky. Current temperature 43 degrees average for this time of year. And same story over at Lake Cumberland in Pulaski County. But notice the trees kind of swaying a little bit as some breezy conditions continue, gusting to 25 in Somerset and London, gusting to 17 right now over in Jackson. So some gusty winds, and those will continue into this evening as well. Temperatures middle to upper 40s, 48 in Somerset, 44 in Jackson, sitting at 42 right now in Pikeville. The good news, we are dry on radar, and that's all thanks to an area of high pressure just off to the south over the Gulf Coast, and that is going to keep us dry tonight and also as we start the weekend. But some changes are on the way by the second half of the weekend, as more showers are likely on Sunday, and they will continue into your Monday as well. As a busy week of weather on tap next week. We're talking rain chances, we're talking possibly some snow chances, all that and more coming up in just a little bit. Steve.
All right, Cameron, thank you. Paintsville police are investigating following the discovery of a human fetus. Johnson County Coroner J.R. Frisbee says the baby was found yesterday near the Paintsville sewer plant on Ponderosa Drive. We are told employees from Paintsville Utilities called police after the discovery. Frisbee says the remains were sent to the state medical examiner's office in Frankfort for an autopsy. Police say the suspect in a Pulaski County shooting has been arrested in Illinois. Officials with the Pulaski County Sheriff's Office tell us Sonny Powell was arrested in Lombard and was taken to the county detention center. He's not facing charges in Illinois and was arrested on a Pulaski County warrant on assault charges. Police say Powell dropped off 44-year-old Natasha Robinson at Lake Cumberland Regional Hospital yesterday. Officers say she had multiple gunshot wounds. We do not know her condition. 45-year-old Jonathan Moran was arrested in Wayne County after Deputy Derek Dennis went into Walmart in Monticello to buy something. Dennis said there was an active warrant for Moran's arrest, so he approached him. Dennis asked him if he had anything illegal on him. Moran reportedly pulled his hand out of his pocket and had a baggie in his fist. The deputy said Moran put the baggie in his mouth and tried to swallow it, but he eventually spit it out. After he was arrested, Dennis says he found a second baggie. After examining both, it was determined that there was both meth and fentanyl present. The Whitley County Sheriff's Department responded to a domestic assault call early this morning. Deputies said they were called to the Rockholds community, and while they were investigating, they saw a loud vehicle speed away from where the suspect was last seen. That suspect was identified as 38-year-old James Setzer of London. Police say they were able to catch up with the vehicle. Setzer is now charged with assault, strangulation, unlawful imprisonment, burglary, and public intoxication. For more than 33 years, the family of Ruville Hale has been waiting for answers. Hale was last seen at the Paintsville Health Care Center on July 3, 1990. At the time, he had several medical issues and had been diagnosed with a brain aneurysm. Fast forward to March of last year, when skeletal remains were found in Dewey Lake near Prestonsburg inside a submerged car. The car was compared to the Ford Tempo Hale was reportedly driving when he disappeared, and it was a match. In October, the family was notified that Hale had been found after all this time. A graveside service is scheduled for 1 p.m. on Sunday at the Hale Family Cemetery. Coming up on First at 4, our mountain teams are looking to make it to the Final Four of the All-A State Tournament. We've got the latest after this.
And the weather is quiet for now, but some changes are on the way by this weekend. All those details coming up next.